Overcoming myths and objections. Upgrades made sense when there were rebates. You know, there are a lot of people who are fascinated with free money. And they say, you know, it used to be a lot more money on the table for retrofit, especially if they're focused on low-hanging fruit. Many of the rebates for low-hanging fruit have gone away because, you know, a lot of the low-hanging fruit is now becoming code required, and utilities and other agencies don't want to pay incentives to have people do what their new construction standards are requiring them to do anyway. But let's dissect this. Well, let's talk about the perils of letting rebates drive your timing. Number one, while a rebate and incentive can improve the financials, did you ever stop to think what portion of the project's net present value it would actually represent? I think if you did the math, you'd be shocked. It's a very, very small portion of the net present value that you have to gain. And number two, have you compared the returns your project will generate, even in the absence of rebates or incentives, to alternative investments? So in other words, if you don't do this project, you're going to leave the money somewhere where it is now. You're in the stock market, the bond market, the money market. So let's think about this. Let's say you have the opportunity to invest in a 4-year payback, 25% per year, but it would have been a 2-year payback if you waited for the rebate programs to come back. But look, you're losing 25% a year return on your money while you're waiting for something to happen. Meanwhile, the money's sitting in a bank account at 0.25%, waiting for you to do something more interesting. Now, that's not an exact comparison because there are before tax and after tax considerations, depending on what you have your money invested in now. There's also this idea of principal. How do I know I'm going to get the principal back? Because you can't, it's really not apples and apples to compare, let's say, a lighting retrofit with a CD, certificate of deposit in a bank. But there are interesting comparisons that can be made nonetheless. Okay. Number three, have you considered the non-utility cost financial and non-financial benefits to doing the project? Because you'll find that the rebates were already the tail of the dog. Now, when you think about the non-utility cost financial and non-financial benefits, the dog gets even much bigger, so the tail gets even smaller. Probably a bad metaphor, but the fact of the matter is that when you really think about what you're going to accomplish by doing a retrofit, you realize that what you're focused on, these silly rebates and incentives, they shouldn't be driving the bus. Okay? And frankly, is it worth sacrificing those benefits, waiting for rebates and incentives to return or to become more generous? And the answer, I think you have to say, is no.